All right, we're back. I don't know what even to say after the past week. We missed out. We were busy, had things going on. Didn't really matter what we said because Georgia got its shit kicked in. And that's where we're at. Georgia is now a do or die situation against Ole Miss or against Tennessee. Can't let Ole Miss beat you twice, as they say. They lost 28-10, and it was ugly. And we move on to Tennessee. But let's get in, I guess, overall. Let's just get into the Ole Miss game and then also looking ahead at the Tennessee game. Go ahead with your initial thoughts.
Well, I think most Georgia fans, and myself included, kept saying, well, we're just waiting for the offense to break out, to show signs. I think we can clearly say this offense is what it is. There's multiple holes, a lot of flaws. The biggest one, and I think, early on we were talking about the turnovers with Carson Beck, obviously a problem. How much of that is Carson Beck not trusting his offensive line? I think now is pretty evident. We've got struggles at left tackle that has regressed. We've got a new center. This offensive line has severely underachieved. And it's really disappointing to see the regression. And then the receivers, I don't know if it's scheme. I don't know if it's individual players. They've got two issues. Drops, and then they also cannot get separation. They can't get open. And then an inconsistent running game puts more and more pressure on Beck. So I know we're going to talk more about Tennessee. What that tells me is Georgia's going to have to play damn near perfect against Tennessee because, like you said, it's do or die. And there's so many holes that I see now on this Georgia team. The other thing on a defensive side, I don't know if it's the type of offenses that we do better. Like if you have a pocket quarterback and you give Georgia's outside linebackers and Kirby and Schumann time to scheme some stuff up, a team like Texas is going to have a really hard time with us. A team that has a quarterback that's comfortable out of the pocket, doesn't have to be a running quarterback, but has the threat to run. Those are the teams that are going to cause us trouble. And there were receivers as open against Georgia's defense, especially in the first half, as I've ever seen under Kirby Smart. So all those things together, look, I said at the beginning of the year, I think with the schedule, and I'm not making excuses, that Georgia would have 2 losses. Well, here's where we're at. And I'm not so worried right now about playoffs or being out of contention. I don't get wrapped up in all that stuff because there's still a lot that can happen. Right. But I can tell you this, even as flawed as Georgia is, I think they're a better team than like a Penn State, for example. Sure. So there's problems with all, the playoff stuff. But I'm not going to get bogged down in this. One thing I will say, as a Georgia fan, have we gotten, accustomed to a certain standard of play? Yes, we have. We've been told we have a standard here. Well, we've underperformed thus far this year, and we cannot seem to get healthy. I mean, we're going into Tennessee with really one healthy running back that's played any significant football this year, and he's a freshman, and he's prone to put it on the ground, and who knows how he's going to pick up, pass blocking. So there's reasons to be concerned for sure if you're a Georgia fan based on play and then, just based on how thin we are at several positions. So that's my biggest takeaway.
Well, so kind of going off of your point, this whole year outside of the Clemson game, really, because, even the Clemson game, there were, things that we saw, and we should have really kept those, in the back of our mind the entire time because they showed up against Kentucky, and then it was it felt like a blizzard after that. But at first, we thought, it's a Bobo problem. Then it became a Beck problem in the Alabama game. And then, I think the tide started turning, for me at least, was a Florida game where it wasn't just a Beck problem. This is now an offensive staff issue. And I think after the Florida game, I said it was a player issue. Well, now it's become very clear to me. It's partially to do with players, but it's also coaches. In the second half of the game, and I know we talked about this recently, me and you, off air. There's a play. Ernest Green was getting beat. He wasn't getting crushed. He was getting beat every now and again, but he wasn't getting his ass handed to him. And there was a point in the game where that started to turn. And I can't remember what – it was in one of those drives where we were down by a possession. And we had Oscar Delp come chip on the edge. And Green took in an inside step so deep that he couldn't even kick back in his pass blocking stance to get back and help Delp in the edge. And all that edge rusher did was split between Delp and Green. That's not a player issue. It's not. That's a coaching issue. And you see it time and time again. You see it with the wide receivers, not catching balls, not running the right routes, not getting separation. That's a coaching issue. Offensive line, same thing. And soft, too. Soft. The reason why Georgia can't run the ball is not because they're not as good. They're just as talented as all the other guys in the SEC. It's want to. You got to start questioning that. And people were like, Tate Ratledge play bad. And yeah, I'm a little biased. I like him a lot. He was hurt, and clearly he was hurt because they pulled him out after the second quarter. He never played again. All the other guys, soft. Run blocking, as someone who played offensive line, and you know it too, run blocking, 90% of it is want to. And wanting to get physical, not being afraid to get hit, wanting to hit, and feeling that contact. That's the whole point of why we play football. And to me, it's an embarrassment whenever you get beat run blocking, because that's just willpower and that's want to. And this team doesn't have that. And so offensively, there's a player issue, and on the other side, there's a coaching issue. And look, Georgia could – what's the craziest thing? The sentence I'm about to say is so crazy. It's like I don't even like saying it, but it's true. The amount of talent Georgia has, it could still very well somehow find its way being in the national championship and winning the national championship because of the talent. Wouldn't you agree with that?
Well, yes, on paper for sure. Okay. That's the thing we talk about, the blue chip, the 4 and 5 stars, but based on what I've seen, eyeball test.
Yeah, exactly. No. So with the talent, they should. But with what we have seen, there hasn't been results. And I don't know if Kirby's going to do it. I really don't, because it was like pulling teeth for him to get rid of Chaney, Coley, and somehow Coley find his way back. I don't know how.
You know why. You know
recruiting.
Why. Yes.
But Kirby's got to take a serious look in the mirror, take some stock in this, and see that Saros is not getting it done. In between, like the recruiting for offensive line outside of last recruiting class has not been great. We've been so hung up on size and how tall a guy is. Doesn't really matter to me at some point. You can be 6'7", weigh 330, and you can be the biggest softy to ever play football. So that's an issue. Wide receivers, they're not performing well. And we're recruiting because of Coley, and I know Brian McClendon's a really damn good coach, but I mean, Dylan Bell, who I like a lot, has completely regressed. I mean, badly. It's a joke. And he should be, out of all of them, Dylan Bell is probably going to be a slot wide receiver in the NFL. And he's regressed. It's embarrassing. Tight ends. I think, they've gotten better over the year. Yurcik has played better, so Hartley, proofs in the pudding with him. He's fine. The rest of everyone else on the offensive staff, can go for all I care. It's been porous the all way, and I don't know if Kirby's going to do it or not, but there should be one phone call, and it should be a blank check. And he's 70 miles down the road from Athens. I'm literally sitting right – Sanford Stadium's right behind me, right here. There's only one person that you can call. It's not Todd Monken, because I don't know if he's going to leave the Ravens. I wish he would. I would beg him on both knees. Buster Faulkner, blank check, bring whoever you want, come in here and fix this offense because it is gross. It's ugly.
That's the other thing you and I talked about. I obviously, people that have listened to this show before, we are Georgia's biggest fans. We live and die by Georgia football. That does not mean that we can't criticize and point out stuff that, to me, is just true. It's not even opinion. Georgia's an extremely boring team to watch. They are if you're just a college football fan, not a Georgia fan, not a SEC fan, but if you're flipping around chat on TV and the Georgia game is on, you're going to be bored to tears. There's no explosive plays. There's seemingly no personality with this offense, and it's boring. It's just not. It's a very predictable offense. Look, if you're going to be predictable, okay, you better damn well be able to execute. And we can't do either. You're boring, and you can't execute boring very well. If I see one more tunnel screen on 3rd and long, I may actually. I got a pretty nice TV, so I won't. But I would throw something through my TV. It's so incredibly predictable. And then the other thing too, with watching the offense, you get a little bit of momentum going, and it's either stupid penalties or turnover that just bust a drive.
Yeah, that's what happened twice against Ole Miss.
Yeah, so it's just been they're hard to watch. I'm still a fan, and I'm still pulling for them, and more than anybody knows. But they are not a very good watch, just objectively.
And here's the other thing too that is just so maddening with this team. You see glimpses of it flash in front of you. And you're like, wow, Carson Beck, great arm, smart quarterback. That was a good play. Dom Lovett looked good. Kobe Young hopefully comes back. He looked good. Dylan Bell, he looked good. There's flashes that happen every couple plays in a game, and you're like, wow, if we can just get that. And then it just seems to never work out. And Ole Miss gave Georgia every opportunity to somehow claw back into the game. I wasn't watching with you. I was watching with a buddy of mine. And I looked at him, and I said, dude, we're down by 2 scores. Somehow they can't shut the door on Georgia. Georgia keeps getting opportunity, and we keep screwing the pooch. It was so hard to watch, but that's been a microcosm of the entire year.
Yes.
But it was inverse where Georgia couldn't put away teams that they should have been putting away. Texas, Bama, Mississippi State, Auburn, Kentucky, Clemson to an extent, Florida for sure. I mean, it's just extremely frustrating to watch. And I know you talked about the defense. I don't know what it is. The defense, I thought, played okay because red zone, they were lights out. And it's a little dangerous to live on that edge, and we didn't have good field position that entire game, it felt like. But, the defense did okay. They did what they had to do in order for us to win that game, given the, consequences in the situation. But, again, there's some guys that just – like Everett, Humphrey. I don't understand why Ellis Robinson isn't playing. Aguero, I don't understand why he's playing. But, I don't know. There's a lot of questions, and it doesn't seem like we have a lot of answers. So it's just really frustrating to watch.
No, I agree. And I don't think this is going to get any better. And this is the concern that I have. The other thing, too, that I might just say, to go to the point about them being boring and a really hard watch, Kirby has chastised the fans at least once this year for not showing the energy. It's number one, Georgia's hard to watch. Number two, I'm concerned there's going to be a hangover effect, of Ole Miss, and maybe I don't know. It's really hard for the fans to get juiced up. This team has given them very little, certainly early on in a game, except for Texas, where they got a little bit of momentum, got a little juice going, got the fans into it. And if that doesn't happen and we allow Tennessee to hang around, and this is a knife fight, which I anticipate it being, they're going to start believing in themselves more and more, and we're in a real dangerous spot. We shouldn't be. This team should beat Tennessee, but will they? I don't know. I have no idea what we're going to get on Saturday. It's what I've been saying all year about this team, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, I'll be in attendance, so I'm going to bring my own juice. It'll be anger juice, I guess. Anger that we're in this situation, and anger that I just don't like Tennessee at all. If you're there, if you're listening to this and you're going Saturday, this is it. I mean, I don't know if you're not loud, at least for till it's obvious that the crowd won't affect the game. Be loud. There's no reason not to. The team needs it. They need some sort of momentum. They need something. And we were both there for the national championship in 21 in Indianapolis against Alabama. That fourth quarter, it felt like the crowd was willing Georgia over to finish that game and to win. So the crowd can impact the game. So if you're there, show up, be loud, and hopefully, the team can do something with that. I don't know. I know you didn't want to talk about the playoff, but I just want us to people that have watched us for a while. I just want to tell you, I told you so. This whole thing is a stupid thing. We are not going to put I said it whenever it first came out last year, before I think around this time last year when it got finalized. They're not putting the 12 best teams in. Automatic qualifiers are not the 12 best teams automatically because conferences are not equal. You have the Big 12 and the ACC, which are fucking jokes. You saw Miami lose to Tech. Clemson lost to I don't know who, somebody. Look how bad Georgia's been, and look what we did to Clemson. The Big 12 is a joke. You have Colorado might end up winning the Big 12.
Yeah.
BYU is aren't they undefeated right now in the Big 12?
I don't know. I know they're leading or whatever.
It's a complete and utter joke. And look, honestly, if like Indiana, God bless them, I love Indiana, I always will, but they hadn't played anybody. They haven't beaten a team with a winning record, a team that's even ranked. So whoop-de-doo. They haven't played anybody, and they're going to play Ohio State. I would imagine they lose this game. But, half the Penn State, the only big win they had was over fucking Illinois, who's not – they're 27 probably if you did rankings that far. It's a joke. And the SEC, you see it every week. They're cannibalizing each other. All these teams are pretty good. And then you're going to leave out an SEC team, especially the team that's played the hardest schedule of anybody, which is crazy to me.
Let me throw, and this is all hypothetical, but if South Carolina and Penn State, South Carolina and BYU played on a neutral field, South Carolina would whip their ass. I'm quite confident in that, and so that tells you. But look, I hear, and I don't disagree. You can't disagree with anything you're saying, but we all knew these were the rules of the game, and the way you mitigate that is by being a really good team and taking all that other bullshit and the human being part of it out of it. They're going to screw. If Georgia loses, they're going to get screwed. If Tennessee loses, they're going to get screwed. So, I don't know.
Well, listen, if you're a Tennessee fan, because I know this week we will get Tennessee fans that will watch this, I got to tell y'all, you have Nico that's out. It's up in the air. We don't know if he's out or not. You've done everything so far to be in the 12 team. Now 14, no, but 12 team, absolutely. And if you go on the road, Sanford Stadium with Georgia backs against the wall, you play admirably, you lose, you're going to get fucked, which to me is not really fair because I think Tennessee is just as much of a playoff team as Georgia is. So, obviously we're biased. We have SEC bias, but I mean, your eyes don't lie to you. I mean, we've watched every team except BYU play, and we all know the SEC is going to be the only team that I would be like, or two teams where I'd be like, they have a shot against whoever you pick out of the SEC, Ohio State and Oregon. That's it.
Right.
But yet we're playing this make-believe. And the committee has done it time and time again. They fall in love with the win-loss record. Your strength of schedule means nothing.
But they say it does. But it tells me it does it because Georgia's on the outside looking in, and there's no way – you know what I mean? So that tells you that they don't appreciate the strength of schedule. They just don't.
Exactly. And, if we're going to have an honest conversation, then have the honest conversation. But they don't. And it's silly to me. They get all wrapped up in brand names. It's the whole reason last year that Georgia got screwed. And all I heard from Georgia people and pundits and journalists were like, well, next year Georgia should be good. Again, guys, like I said, like we both said at the time, we don't know what next year brings. You have no idea. Georgia got fucked. And now look where we're at now. It's just they're going to keep doing this. Something's got to be done, and the answer is not to expand to the 16. Don't be stupid.
You can't take a flawed system and fix it with making it more flawed by adding more to it. That's you're talking about logic. That's ass backwards logic.
Well, that by the way, that's what they're saying on ESPN. They're like, "Well, this thing will get to 16." How the fuck is that going to fix anything, guys?
Well, here's what it's going to fix.
It's not 12 best teams.
They're going to fix it. Their fix is more money. That's what this whole thing is about. Yeah. It is a money grab, and it's interesting storylines and having college football not be so regional, having the Colorados and the BYUs that have a chance and these other programs. I'm telling you, man, that's what. And so it is. We can't control that, right? And we can't control any of it, but we can certainly have higher expectations than what we've seen from this Georgia program this year. I'm as disappointed, and I'm just being completely candid. I'm as disappointed this year as I've been in any season that Kirby's been the coach. 2019, maybe, but that was again totally.
I think that was the worst year. Still,
it could have been that offense was putrid. It was very similar to what we're watching this year. We're seeing a quarterback that used to be good regress. We're seeing predictable play calls, boring, all the same type of things, and it's going to have to be solved. It just is and now's not the time to solve it. But it's going to have to be seriously looked at with clear eyes in the offseason. This is a bottom line business, man.
Yeah, and that's the problem. And, I saw Jake Rowe or Reese tweet out like, Kirby's used standard so much that Georgia fans think that they know the standard. Well, I mean, when Kirby says, hey, these are the things that are explicitly the standard and the team's not living up to it, Jake, that's what we're talking about. That's why people are upset.
I haven't seen toughness. I shouldn't say this. Physicality is one. You haven't seen physicality on the offensive line, and that's honestly, you said it the other day offline or off camera or whatever. That's one of the reasons Georgia throws the ball so much more this year than we've had it in any past, because usually offensive lines that aren't real physical they're much more comfortable with the finesse part of offensive line blocking. And that's what we're watching. So if you're going to talk to me about me not knowing, okay, I admit I'm not a football coach and I'm not a football expert, but I do know what the pillars of what the standard is. And I can point to specific things that physicality on the offensive line has certainly regressed.
I totally agree.
Composure. You don't do
Yeah,
stupid
none.
penalties.
Yeah, that's a really bad one. I'm not gonna really get into the Jake Pope thing. That was just really dumb. But I mean, to note of it, do you remember this much drama in a Georgia football season? I mean, it seems like every other week there's some sort of dramatic.
Not under Kirby, but under Rick. Yeah, that last year with Jeremy Pruitt and what's his name,
Schottenheimer.
Yeah, Schottenheimer. Yeah, I remember that much. But look, if these kids and they're mercenaries, man. And I'm not saying this about the kid from Buford Pope. I'm just saying in general. When these kids transfer and they're in one program 1 year, they're in the next program or another program the next year, there is no. That's one of the things I've been concerned about this for a while, and we're starting to see little elements that you can say, well, that's an outlier, right?
Right.
But there's no sense of loyalty. Live or die by winning or losing. And it's very hard for these when they talk about a program now. What does that mean? You don't see any red shirts. Very rarely do you see red shirt seniors anymore.
Right.
Occasionally you will, like Carson Beck, I guess, but very rarely. You'll mainly see transfer players playing big roles on teams, even down to a team like Vanderbilt, their quarterback.
Yeah, Pavia.
Yeah. So it's just going to get worse and worse. And I know there was, circumstances around that. Well, that was his friend from high school and all that. Look, they're young kids, but it's not surprising to me that we're going to start seeing more and more elements of this. These kids they don't live and die by the university.
Yeah, I just whatever. It was a stupid mistake. Like Kirby said, what an idiot. Even though he had to backtrack that one, which I don't know why he did. I completely agree with him.
The kid may not be an idiot, but the actions were an idiot.
Well, yeah, for sure.
You got to be you got to, especially as an adult, you can't be calling a young person an idiot.
Maybe I'm just different, but the drama. I really do worry about Kirby being able to put up with all this because I couldn't. The drama that has been going on. I mean, Colby Young, Rara Thomas, the speeding, all the arrest, and the Athens PD and the rivalry with Georgia. That's an off season thing, not an ongoing season thing. It's wearing. It's wearing on a man.
And having to recruit your roster. Once you get a kid on the roster, you've got to continuously recruit them. You can't coach them the way that you feel like you have to coach them because they might get butt hurt and jump to another program. That along with all the other things you mentioned, yeah, I'm with you. Who needs it? Especially if you've making $13 million a year, you only need 1 or 2 of those years. You bank the rest, and you can go be on the lake and play golf, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
all right. Georgia, Tennessee, let's talk about it. Let's just bear through this. Georgia is a 10.5-point favorite right now. 7:30 kick, night game. Team is essentially called for a blackout. We'll see. I hope they don't wear black jerseys, honestly, now. But now talking about everything going on wrong in the season, I don't want a blackout. So this whole season I've been saying the one team that scared me was Ole Miss. And I said that in their preview was the Ole Miss game with Lane Kiffin. Tennessee doesn't scare me. Georgia, here's the thing. I think Georgia's got more talent. I think Kirby understands I was about to call him Heupel, thank you. Heupel's offensive scheme. And so far, ever since Heupel's been taken over, Georgia's won these games 20 plus points. Do I think Georgia's going to win by that much? I don't think so. I think Georgia I think they will cover. I think Georgia because they're at home, can get over that 30-point mark. I think Georgia wins 31-17.
I don't know. Is it questionable of the quarterback, because that makes a big difference, right? Because
Yeah,
that kid's good, and I don't know how he's going to react in a hostile environment and all that kind of stuff. But what's his injury?
it's a concussion.
Oh,
So Chris Felica, the Bear's recipe. He said that he's heard that he's not going to play. Other people have said, well, he practiced, but he's in concussion protocol. Don't know. I would imagine that if he's good enough to go, they're going to try to run him out there.
well, that makes a big difference to me. But yeah, again, on paper, Georgia should win this game. They're at home. Backs are against the wall. If they're going to make anything of the season, and Carson Beck coming back and foregoing the NFL, boy, I bet he is questioning that decision now.
Boy,
but if they're gonna, if it would tell me that Georgia should win this game and should cover. I don't know why I believe this, but maybe this will be. I think the offensive line, they said they've feel it as a challenge. They should, and if that's the case, Georgia should win this game. I'm gonna say 34-24. I'm gonna put it right on the mark.
I don't think Tennessee's offense has been that great. I don't know what it is though. You go and you look at if you just stat watch. Nico has decent stats. Samson has been really good. He's banged up, by the way. And you look, and I don't understand their struggles really. I don't think they just have enough playmakers on the outside like they did in 2022. So I just don't see them being able to put 20 points. And honestly, at Sanford Stadium at home with the crowd on your side, Georgia should be able to put up 30. There's just no excuse. There's none.
Right. I agree. I totally agree. There is no excuse.
I mean, yeah, we're at this point, and here's the other thing too. I would usually say, hey, Kirby Smart in these situations, there's no other coach I would want right now in college football. Maybe Saban, but he's not. He's on game day with McAfee, who's going to yell. But with this team and how they've played, Kirby can do all he can do. I still don't know if it will be enough.
I agree. I totally agree. If Georgia, what would really make me happy is if Georgia could line up. They don't have to be explosive, but just what Kirby used to preach whenever that first year, or the second year, first and second, just keep chopping. That offensive line, just keep working. Nate Frazier, just keep sticking it up there in the hole. Keep running the damn ball, and keep Heupel's offense off the field. And don't put so much pressure on Beck and the receiving core. Can the offensive line have the best game of the year and let us just run the ball? That would be, if we could have some semblance of a running game, which we haven't. Us throwing the ball as many times, too many bad things happen, dude. I just am not a big fan of that style of offense, especially if you're going to throw it sideways 50% of the damn pass, which is what we do.
Yeah, no, you're right. And by the way, Carson Beck is a play-action quarterback. That's what he's best at. That's what he does really well.
You got to be able to run the ball to sell the play action. You got to be able to
run the ball. So we have the wrong quarterback for the wrong offensive system, and we don't have a play caller who's calling the right plays. So it's all three ways fucked up. And it just, I don't know. Georgia should win this. I think that we all expect it. But who knows? That's the state of Georgia football right now. Who knows?
That's right.
All right. Remember to like and subscribe, comment, follow us on all social platforms, Twitter, Instagram, X, Instagram, and TikTok at Terminus Sports _ATL. And then our presenting sponsor, Unishippers. Give us a pitch.
We work with small to medium-sized clients, helping them reduce their shipping costs and making their operations around shipping much more efficient. So if you think your shipping costs are out of alignment, whether it's small pack or you're less than truckload or even full truckload, feel free to reach out. No obligation. We'd be happy to do a cost analysis and tell you how we might be able to help you. And make sure to reach out and ask for Holland Martin.
All right. Shout out Holland. Hopefully Georgia plays well. We'll see. And we'll be back here talking about it irregardless. All right. See you on the other side.